Welcome to the Dynasty Academy. Michael Washington, Mark is being a pompous ass before we came on air, and Mark Ongst.
Well, I mean, you are. I'm not. I mean, you are.
Eli Manuel.
Why would you draft a wide receiver too?
Eli, you can cut this out.
You could leave it in, too.
Restart.
Kyler Murray has a fantastic arm. It's just the decision-making for him, for me. Michael Vick just made better decisions, I feel like, overall.
Makes sense. I said 1 or 2 inches, growing 1 or 2 inches, and you're like,
And he's still going,
I have leagues on too many apps. I don't know what to follow.
Welcome to the Dynasty Academy, where the uniforms are not black and blue, and there's more to it than just that. I'm Michael Washington. He's Mark Ongst. Yeah, I mean, Mark, how you doing? First of all, let's start off there as we get ready for draft week. 7 days out.
only a week. I can't believe it.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't either, man. And we are starting our little rookie thing. Eli is not with us today. He will hopefully be with us here very soon. Yeah, man, 7 days, bro. 7 days.
I mean, it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. I don't know if it's a little earlier than usual or what.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that the Jets and Lions have both revealed new uniforms. Have you seen the Lions' alternative uniforms? Speaking of uniforms,
I did. I like the black and blue one. The other one, I'm not like the basic, like blue and silver, or whatever. Not, I don't know. It's
have you seen the
plain
new
to
ones
me.
with the? Did you see the ones with the blue helmet?
Yeah, the black and blue I like. So
Yeah, they had the
where
blue helmet with the black hill. Yeah, that was.
that combination I like it, but the blue they also have like a blue and silver new one too, and not a huge fan of it.
Well, I mean, probably more of a fan than what we've seen from the AFL so far.
Honestly, in the Jets, I didn't really notice a difference when I saw
they
the
were small.
reveal.
They were small, subtle changes.
Okay,
I think
'cause I was like,
I think Ari Meroff was like, in case for all those that didn't see the changes, and he like posted the old Jets with the new Jets, and it was basically
yeah,
almost
see, I don't see
identical.
that. Yeah,
It was
didn't
almost
notice much
identical.
there. It's pretty much as bad as the AFL reveals.
Oh my god. Oh my lord. I can't, man. These reveals are terrible. I mean, I'm rooting for the league. They wanted uniformity, and they literally took one uniform and just said, "Here you go. All the teams can have them." So you're not even matching it. They're all matching at this point. You're not going to be able to determine who's who.
Just a little sliver of color around the numbers and along the leg difference in color. Like you either got blue, black, white, and then you got to choose one little sliver color to change it up otherwise. Not even like you chose like a black and then went with a purple number. No, like you got purple around the number and that was it.
I can't, man. Once again, shout out to Sam here for Shady Sports Network and giving us the opportunity and chance to run this platform here. We got a C2C league opening up soon. Very excited about this. Obviously any campus to Canton league, I'm all about. So I had enough demand for a new C2C league that I may have to open up a second one and just run with those people that didn't get a chance to play in this one. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, Mark, tonight.
You're gonna be mad when I don't pay my dues until Thursday next week, so we have to wait to draft till after that.
Oh, well, you weren't going to count. I mean, if you didn't pay your dues, it didn't matter. I was just going to run through it anyways. You don't count because I
had
know
a feeling you'd say that.
Yeah, you're going to pay your dues. I know you're going to pay your dues. I'm not worried about that at all. Yeah, no. I'm just more or less. It's more or less people that I don't really know that well. So,
wait till next Thursday.
I mean, you can wait till next Thursday. Maybe you can DM somebody and try to work some magic and cut a back alley deal with somebody. But I mean,
I will have control of the clock, so I can always just stop it when it comes to my pick and just hold the draft up for however long.
Don't worry, I'll be paying attention.
You always do.
But speaking of the draft and drafting and all this stuff, Rookie Fever is is in full force.
Oh, yeah.
We did the trade show a couple weeks ago, and I'm looking at the trades that I've seen on X recently, and I'm like, we should have just waited to this week to do it, because these trades with these rookie picks are insane, man. Like, Rookie Fever is in full swing for Dynasty football.
Over the next 2 weeks, it's going to get wild with draft pick trades.
Oh,
Leading right up to the draft, like right after the actual NFL draft, because most rookie drafts start not long after that, and then it's going to go crazy.
You know, we got a Facebook user. There's no name here. It says, "Oh snap! It's almost rookie draft time." What's up, fellas? Shout out to Facebook user. I'm assuming you didn't sign in somewhere or something, but give us a shout out. Drop your name in the comments, so at least maybe we can give you a proper.
On Facebook, you would think,
and not call you Facebook user, because that's just.
Unless that's their name. Hey, that could be that would be hilarious if that's what they chose as their name on Facebook.
Yeah.
So if that's what it is, shout out to you for coming up with that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, rookie draft time. It's coming right up, Mr. Facebook user or Mr. User or Mrs. User. I don't want to misuser. I don't misuser just sounds weird. Yeah, but anyways, we did rookie running backs last week. We did rookie quarterbacks last week, top 5 for each. We decided to expand a little bit on wide receivers just because it's deeper class. Yeah, it's a much deeper class. We're going to do the top 7. I didn't want to go into like top 10s and top 15s or anything like that. We may touch base on Brock Bowers later in the show and possibly talk about the rest of the tight end class that's, so good. Oh, it's Shane. Oh, shout out, Shane. Shout out, buddy. Coach. Yeah, Coach. Rookie draft time. I hope you're gearing up and listening, because it's gonna be important for your fantasy league. We got you. We got you covered. I'm telling you, we got you covered. All right, starting backwards, because again, I like doing that. And starting with number 7.
I mean, I feel like the number 1 in this one isn't a surprise. And I feel like you could just get it out of the way now. Unless, no, never mind. Okay, we'll start at the back.
What? I'm just saying.
Nothing. So I do have a sleeper-ish. I'm not sure he's a sleeper at this point, but a name I don't know how many people casually know at this point is Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I love this guy.
I think he's a sneaky pick, especially depending on landing spot. He's a little bit like the Deebo Samuel-esque type player, and not Deebo coming out from South Carolina, Deebo with the Niners, where you kind of get the ball into his hands and let him create more than him being a just traditional wide receiver. He can be dangerous. I mean, he's only 5'11", so he's actually, for this draft class, on the shorter side, because I think everybody is 6'1" and above in this draft class, which is so weird compared to like the last 4 years. But he's 215, so he's pretty thick. I don't believe he worked out at the combine, whether he wasn't invited or injury or chose not to. I don't have anything for him. I don't know if you saw anything different or if you saw a pro day for him or anything. I didn't see anything like that.
I didn't see anything. Let me see if I can find maybe something on him here that might stick out. I'm not really sure. I don't remember hearing too much about him as far as what he did. This has him at 5'11", 215. He ran a 4.440. That's about all I got.
All right, so he must have done a pro day, because I don't think he's got anything at the combine. But I mean, again, he's not this guy that's going to go out there and be like this elite wide receiver. But we saw what Deebo could do a few 2-3 years ago when you get the ball into his hands, and that's how Corley could be. So, maybe even a Dolphins wide receiver, where it's that style of offense where they utilize him with all the speed around him, and he's more of the strength guy. When they send everybody deep and you hit him on the underneath and stuff like that. So I just a name to watch for rookie drafts, because he's not going to be a first round rookie pick, but he's projected to go, I think, second, third round in the NFL draft. So in the right situation, if you could snag him in that early to mid second round rookie pick, that could be a steal.
I don't even think he's going to go early to mid second, to be honest with you. I feel like he's going to be a late second, early third round type guy. You got to remember something too. It feels like every year, at least recently, there's been like a third round wide receiver that's kind of come on and produced in some manner. So if he goes in the third, I could definitely see that. I really like Malachi Corley. Another guy I really like is my sleeper, and I was toggling back and forth between him and someone else, and I decided to settle on him. But Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son, at a USC, he ran a 4.5, but speed isn't really his game. He's 6'2". He's 6'2", 208, I believe, is what they listed him at. I really just like the overall talent. I think he has room to grow. If he can find a good spot that can utilize his strengths, I feel like that Brendan is a guy that might be, again, a second-day guy that can come in and maybe surprise some people, kind of like how Puka did, with the Rams, or Cooper Kupp did, when he originally came into the league. So, Rice is just one of those guys that I have a good feeling about, more than it is necessarily anything concrete to say that this guy could. But I think he's going to be a solid wide receiver in the NFL for a few years. He's not going to be as good as his dad, because, I mean, let's be honest, that's
tough. I mean, that's a tough thing to do.
That's a very tough thing to do, but I do like Brendan.
50% of that might still be a very wonderful NFL career.
Yeah. So if you got rookie drafts coming up, as far as Dynasty is concerned, look for them in the late rounds that might be able to contribute right away, even, especially if they land in good landing spots.
And had a very good season with a loaded USC wide receiver group. Ended as their second best wide receiver based on receptions and yards, and had the most touchdowns on the team. This is a team that had Mario Williams, had the freshman Zachariah Branch, and he still outplayed them. So I think just proved he, probably, has that NFL pedigree coming from, his father, kind of like a wide receiver we'll talk about later.
Yeah, well, and the thing about it is that 6'2", 200 and what did I say, 208 is what I think they have him at. Yeah, 208, and ran a 4.5 40. That's not really slow for a guy that size. I mean, if he's able to really utilize his strengths and have a little bit of speed, like, I think Brendan could be a nice little late round pick for people, especially if he does land in a good spot. I mean, if he obviously gets buried in a certain spot, you're going to have to be a little weary. But if he's a second day pick to the Giants,
for guys with that size and speed, it comes down to how well do you run routes,
right?
And coming, I mean, his father, you would think he's learned to run routes the proper way. So
yeah, because Jerry wasn't very fast either.
No, not at all. I mean, we all know the whole 4.8 was his
4.8
40 time in a rainy, not even a combine setting type of thing, whatever. But no, but even his game was never built on being the fastest guy. He was just.
But he never got caught from behind. But he very rarely got caught from behind, because Jerry was the man with the route running side of things.
Yeah, and had enough speed to outrun him.
And Jerry also suffered from drops too. So it's not like his rookie year was dismal. So it's not like Brendan can't make this happen. I think Brendan can easily make this happen. All right, sleepers out of the way. Who's your number 7?
My number 7 is Xavier Leggett, wide receiver from another USC, this time South Carolina, though. Not.
I just call it Scar. I just call it Scar.
Yeah, Scar. So Leggett is another one of those taller, bigger wide receivers, 6'1", 221. So he's definitely got that strength factor. He's only pretty much 1 year of production. So he's raw. He's going to come into the NFL and need a team to help him a little bit. But that size and speed, I mean, he ran a
4.39
4.39
at that size.
221 pounds. Yes. So the big man can move.
Yeah.
He has, and he uses his size to make catches. I wish he would use his size more to create space, because he does have speed, but he's not the most polished, because obviously he's still raw at route running, to kind of body corners a little bit more than he does. And that's why he's down here at 7 and not a little bit higher on my list, because he's going to need that coaching. And then really comes down to who does he get on that side of things. If he's a sneaky, if Xavier Worthy or guys, he creeps up the board a little bit because of the speed, and the Chiefs right around that pick 32, Xavier Leggett fits that team with the kind of pieces they have there, because he has speed. So it's not like you lose that, but that size to.
But he has size, which is something that most of the receivers in Kansas City don't have.
Exactly.
Or if they have the size, they're in legal trouble.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a perfect kind of hybridish player, to where Kelsey's kind of your size. Rashee Rice, legal trouble, but he's not a burner either.
Nope.
And Xavier's kind of in between those two guys. So that's a sneaky spot for him. And if that's where he lands, and he's going to shoot up, I think, draft boards. But even he's looking at as a round 2 pick in general. So he's going to have, I think, the draft pedigree.
Shane, we'll get to that question here in a minute. I just wanted to show it and acknowledge it. My number 7 is also Xavier Leggett. I actually toggled him back and forth between 7 and 6. I decided to settle on for 7. I decided to settle on 7 primarily for a lot of the same reasons you said. He's raw. He needs to find a spot where they can actually utilize him and actually help train him as far as a route runner is concerned. I feel like that's where he's a little bit raw. I know there's a certain Clemson fan in some of our leagues that hate this guy, and I can't imagine why. Because he's a South Carolina guy. But Leggett does have the speed, and with that size, it's a unique combination that we don't really get a chance to see in the NFL come together. Usually you have the size, but not necessarily the speed, or you have the speed and not necessarily the size. And he has a little bit of combination of both. I think he's really good at a lot of things. I don't think he's great at anything, though. And I think that he has.
Yet.
But I think he has the potential to be great at something. So Xavier Leggett, and you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. If you're in a dynasty league and you're looking at Xavier Leggett, even if he gets drafted with draft capital, I still think he's going to be a sneaky good value pick in that early second round, to mid second round. So keep an eye on him, and if you feel like you need to make a move up, I would make a move up if you're in the back half of that second round. Now, Shane asked, how much do you factor in where a player goes during a rookie when doing a rookie draft, or a rookie going to the Pats, Bills, and Chiefs? Now, for me personally, Mark, and I don't know how it is with you, draft capital plays only a certain part. And primarily, it only plays a certain part because we've seen it for years now, like Kadarius Toney going early, and we saw him slide all the way to the second round in rookie drafts. You have to make sure that you are doing your part, whether it's analytics and film or a combination of both or one over the other. You need to make sure that you are paying attention to the whole package, because you just never know. I mean, look at Quentin Johnston last year. He had drop problems, he had separation issues, and those were both issues he had at TCU at some points, right? Usually against the better corners. So you need to be able to look at that aspect of things. Now, when it comes to where they landing spot is big for opportunity purposes, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee things either. Take a look at Jalen Hyatt with the Giants last year. I know he was hurt at the beginning of the year and he didn't really get a chance to catch onto the field, but Hyatt had an opportunity to be a starter for the Giants because they had nobody. Oh, they still do.
Yeah.
And he didn't really see the field. You take a look at Cedric Tillman. They went out and traded for Elijah Moore, and Tillman really honestly didn't see the field, but he was a third round pick?
And
So-
now traded for Jerry Jeudy on top of that.
And now they traded for Jerry Jeudy on top of that. So it's a landing spot is important because you have to look at the team as far as what do they have and what's around them. Now, a team like Shane, to put instance, you mentioned the Pats. A team like the Pats, as far if you're looking for immediate production, you don't want a Pats rookie wide receiver. But if you're looking for long term and there's a certain player that they draft that you really like, then there's a possibility that you may want to draft him, but you don't want to get into this habit of overdrafting just because he's in a good landing spot per se, right? This isn't the same Patriots team. Let's talk about that for a second. It's not the same Patriots team, but they are void of any talent on offense, and they're most likely going to have a rookie quarterback. So,
which
I say most likely. It's not
could
it's not
lead to success in year one, actually,
right?
Because the opportunity's there. But here's why looking at the team can't be your sole focus.
Right.
Things change way too fast. I mean, everybody wanted to predict it, but really who saw Stephon Diggs being traded? Everybody talked about the contract, you can't do it, not doing the contract. So you don't expect it. So now we're looking at a Bills team with no wide receivers for the most part. But who's to say next year they don't go out and sign somebody? They don't go trade for T. Higgins. It's one of those things where in the moment we react to it, and it's what causes us to miss on players we like from the get-go. Yes, scheme matters more than the actual team. The team they go to, if the scheme doesn't fit that wide receiver, that makes more of a difference than sometimes what's around them. Puka Nacua isn't the same wide receiver with every team. Everybody wants to believe those things, and it's not true. He landed in a system that utilized his strengths, not tried to force him into what they want done. They played around him. I mean, they already had Cooper Kupp who did similar things, so it worked nicely. But that's the kind of thing. I mean, look at Tyquan Thornton. He was a second-round pick to the Patriots. And Kendrick Bourne outplayed him 2 seasons now.
Shout out to Krish for the Kendrick Bourne. That's a little backstory on our NFL show. In the preseason show, Krish predicted that Kendrick Bourne would be Offensive Player of the Year. In all seriousness, so that's where that came, Coach. That's where that came from, Coach. So I mean, Mark, that's what Coach is referring to. So
a perfect example of this is Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep.
4 years ago,
at least at the running back spot for sure. Yeah.
Well, but we do with all, but he's a great example for it all around. He gets drafted to the Chiefs. Everybody thinks he's going to be Westbrook for Chiefs or Andy Reid system. Patrick Mahomes said, "Take this guy, I want him." And everybody shot him up their draft boards. He was the best running back, and they just resigned him, I think, for what, about $2 million?
Yeah, it was pretty low. Shout out to the Cracker Juice MVP award as well. Got to get that Cracker Juice. You can find it at your local Cracker Barrel. All right, all right, Mark. Number 6. Who's number 6 here for the rookie wide receiver?
My number 6 is Troy Franklin.
Oh, okay.
He's 6'2", so he's an inch taller than Leggett. He's only 176 pounds, though. And he actually ran a slower time than Leggett did. But Troy Franklin is a much more polished route runner than Xavier Leggett is. So that's why I have Franklin, because in the NFL, route running is king. You can be a bit slower. If you run really good routes and can separate that way, it works. So for now, I have Franklin ahead of Leggett solely based on he's just more polished as a wide receiver overall. You brought up Jalen Hyatt. Troy Franklin is very similar. He's not as fast as Hyatt, but I think he's a better wide receiver than Hyatt is overall. He's more polished. But Franklin's frame does bother me a bit, and I worry, will these bigger corners push him around? So it's really going to come down to how much he uses his explosive, because Troy Franklin is quite explosive. He's just not, as fast. Yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody talked about him like he was going to be this like crazy speedster. So he actually must, he plays faster on field than his 40 time, but I think a little underwhelming with his 40 time compared to being 176 pounds.
So Franklin didn't make my top 7. He's just outside of it. He ran a 4.41, which is in the 81 percentile. But I was more concerned about his shuttle and his 10-yard. His 10-yard split, he's only in the 20%. So he picks up speed on a straight line. But in the NFL, he's going to find a lot of press coverage, and he's going to have a lot of issues finding separation inside that 10 to 12 range if he's that slow in the 10-yard split. His shuttle is only 31%. He's only in the 31 percentile for his shuttle. Those two things kind of worried me a little bit. His 3-cone wasn't super impressive either. He's only in the 62% percentile, which is like right in the middle of the pack. Those 3 drills the most, more than just the 40 time, worried me a little bit, just because if you can't win at the line, you're not going to succeed in this league. So Franklin dropped out of my top 7 specifically because those 3 things. It doesn't mean that I don't think he's not explosive or could be surprising. It's just, for me, I was a little bit more nervous, especially considering the fact that he is smaller with height, that you would think separation would be a good thing with him, but I worry about that short window. My number 6 is Ladd McConkey. Now, I I made a huge joke about this guy at first, but when I really put on the tape and I sit here and watch him, he really, and I'm not even going to go with the whole normal comparisons to the Cooper Kupp stuff. He reminds me more of Troy Brown when Brown was with Brady early in his career. He's very good at separating. He's got good, solid hands, and he has some pretty decent, speed. He ran a 4.39, and his 10-yard was in the 80 percentile. So he definitely is going to win at the line. And if you mismatch him on linebackers and safeties that are slower, he's going to win 90% of the time at the line. And that's what you want from a wide receiver. He's going to be a guy, especially in PPR formats, that could thrive for you. And if he lands in the right spot, a team that can utilize him properly, he could surprise as early as this year. And it sounds like he's going to get the draft capital out of it. So McConkey makes number 6 for me. I toggled between him and Leggett, but I think McConkey did it more and longer at Georgia than Leggett did overall. So that gave him the slight advantage. Well, we know that Georgia. Well, we know that Georgia doesn't really use the receivers though either. So I mean,
not like South Carolina's an offensive powerhouse either.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying Leggett only did it for a year, but I mean, I like Leggett too, though. I mean, Leggett was very close because of his size compared to Ladd. I think Ladd has decent size, though. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean,
it's decent size.
It's not. He's way more polished than Leggett is, so he has a much better chance to come in immediately and have an impact. I don't know how. He's getting a lot of love, and he does what he does very well. It's just, unless you give him a system that's going to utilize it you bring up Troy Brown and Tom Brady. Brady, until, later in his career, was a huge get it to the crossing route type of player, things like that. Sure. So, and that's what Ladd's going to do better than, other people. Cooper Kupp, made a killing on that post route.
But the other thing I like about Ladd, though, is I don't think NFL teams look at Ladd and say you're an alpha 1. I think they look at him and say you're a guy who's going to fit into my system the way that I want you to, and it's not going to be one of those things where a team drafts him thinking, "Hey, we got the next Hall of Famer. We got a guy that's actually more consistent and that we could utilize his strengths." That's right. What I like about him more than the guys at the top half of this draft. I would never put Ladd over that. And Xavier, I think, has a higher ceiling. It's just, to me, I think Ladd has a higher floor, so I think it's just a safer bet to put him ahead of Xavier at this point, and that's why I had him at 6 over Xavier.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very similar to Troy Franklin being just a more polished player. I mean, those two are not the same, but in that sense of more polished than Xavier Leggett. Yeah.
I want to like Franklin. I do. That's just those 3 drills just kind of, I'm putting on his tape a little bit more this weekend, but I just want to make sure that I'm not missing something with him, and the game and the NFL, everybody knows the game is won within 7 to 10 yards. If you can't win there, it's very hard to win anywhere else. So who's your number 5?
Number 5 for me is A.D. Mitchell. Donnie Mitchell out of Texas. 6'2", 205, and ran a 4.34. So another guy with some size, a little bit slighter frame, but still pretty good size with that speed. You see that speed in his get off and to get, like you brought up with Franklin and not being able to get off the line. Mitchell doesn't have that problem.
Correct.
Another big part of Mitchell's game is his ability to be able to go up and get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows really good hands when he does that. A downside is when he's not going up to get it, he lets the ball get into his chest on other type of catches, which makes absolutely no sense. Of when you stretch out, you use your hands, but when you're just making a normal catch, you let it come into your body.
It's a work ethic thing.
Right, and that's another thing with him. When he isn't the focal point of the play, sometimes he's not really into the play, and it's not the best thing to see from wide receivers. So here's a hope that when he goes to a wide receiver room, they break that habit out of him. He's a guy. He came from Alabama or Georgia.
Who? A.D. Mitchell? Georgia. Yeah. He transferred from Georgia to Texas.
Georgia. So he came high recruit. Went to Texas. So not a guy that's probably really been pushed too hard. Let's say so. But the strength, when he gets the balls in his hand, it's not like he just goes down. He has the yak ability. He has the ability to be a wide receiver 1 in this league with his size, speed, and the way he gets off the ball. It just comes down to his concentration.
Yep.
If he works at it and does it, Jerry Jeudy had very similar attributes to AD, but wasn't as fast, but very similar style.
But had a terrible attitude.
Right. He has a terrible attitude. So that will play a huge factor in how Mitchell does in his NFL career.
Yeah, I was going to say A.D. Mitchell's my number 5, and he has what I like about him is he has the ability to take the top off of defense just going 80%. He doesn't even have to go 100%. He can take the top off of defense, and but he does. He's a body catcher. It's weird seeing that on other routes. He didn't have an extensive route tree at Texas because there really wasn't a need for it at Texas. But he did run more routes at Texas than he did at Georgia. Georgia, I feel like, just used them as like, hey, go deep, kind of guy. But I think that he has raw ability in that 12 to 15 yard range, and if with his speed, he's a guy who could take a 8-yard curl route, make a move, and then be gone, or a 5-yard slant and just weave right through the center of the defense and be out of here. So
similar to OBJ, but more strength than Beckham.
Absolutely, he has big play ability and the ability to actually possibly grow into a wide receiver 1 in this league. So I do like A.D. Mitchell at number 5. Number 4 for you.
This is Brian Thomas out of LSU.
Me too.
6'3". I kind of figured these would be. The order might be a little, but most of the same guys. But 6'3", 209, and a 4.33. Another guy with size and speed. It's one of those things in this draft class which is so rare to find. We don't normally get these type of players in all these drafts together, but another guy who gets off the line, gets into his route, and catches the ball with his hands, though. So
Yeah.
the biggest difference between him and A.D. Mitchell is he is not a body catcher. He is,
Nope.
but not as great of a contested catcher either as A.D. Mitchell is when going up and getting the ball. But when you talk about a guy being able to burn right by you, probably 80%, that is Brian Thomas. He has the speed to go just straight past you and the ability to get off the line and just run streaking right by you. So you better get some kind of hand on him if that's the route he's running. But runs really good polished routes otherwise. He doesn't use his size as well as A.D. Mitchell uses his size. And that's probably the biggest difference. Thomas is a bit faster, has a little bit more polish to him, better hands, but he could throw that size around a little more than he does at times.
My biggest issue with Brian is his strength. I don't feel he's strong enough in comparison to a guy like A.D. Mitchell for his size. He's in the 20% percentile for the bench press, which again, lifting doesn't really necessarily matter for wide receivers as much if you can create separation. But what I love about Brian Thomas is his metrics are off the chart, right? Like his metrics are incredible. His 10-yard split is excellent. It's in the 94 percentile. My issue with Brian Thomas more comes with, does the production really match those metrics though? He had a double-digit touchdown, season this past season, but I don't think he maximized it with yards per reception, his yak, or his total yardage. I don't think he went over 1,000 yards this year. So it does beg the question. Now, he obviously played opposite of Malik Neighbors. That's my other concern with Brian Thomas. I love Brian Thomas. He's my number 4 for a reason, because I think that him playing opposite of Malik Neighbors isn't necessarily a bad thing.
He did. He had
did he go over 1,000? Oh, he did go over 1,000. Okay, all right. He went for 1,100. Okay. For some reason, I thought he went for 980 for some reason. So
did I. But only 1 year of production, not 300 the year before that.
Right. So and that's the other thing. It's a 1 year production with Brian Thomas. What was it? 14 touchdowns on the year? I think it was
17.
17. Yeah. So he had 17 touchdowns on the year. So, Brian is a guy who I think has unlimited potential. It's just that floor scares me a little bit. So, but either way, I have him at number 4. Like I said, everything that you said, I really love his explosiveness, and I think he can win at the line. So yeah, I'd like to see him get a little bit stronger. So hopefully he can land in a spot. He doesn't have to get like super strong, but I would like to see him get a little bit stronger just so he can utilize that frame more, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. If he could use his size the way Mitchell uses his size, he has a real strong possibility of being a better wide receiver than maybe even Neighbors is.
Yeah. Who's your number 3?
Rome Odunze is my number 3.
Odunze.
Is he your number 3?
He is not my number 3. No.
Okay, so he is 6'3", 212, and ran a 4.45.
He did.
I will. It's really hard to find negatives in Rome's play. The only thing I'll say is he catches those contested catches so well. I think he plays into it a little too much, actually. He almost likes doing it, it seems like. He was very similar to how Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett are with the Seahawks, where Russell Wilson would throw these passes and you're like, oh, nobody's catching that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just there is Lockett underneath the ball catching it. And that was Rome Odunze throughout all of his Washington career. Just toss the ball up and he will go get it. He is a ball hawk. He will find it, he will run to it, and he will come down with it most of the time. Those 50-50 balls were not 50-50 because he was going to get them. It's just it would have been so much easier at times if he would just use the speed that he has a little bit more. But again, I'm nitpicking. And yes, I have him at 3, but I don't want people to think that him and the other 2 ahead of them are very far off from each other, because they are not. we could call this a 1A, B, C conversation, and we can, and Brian Thomas can be number 2 for me if we want to do it that way, because that's how close Rome, Neighbors, and Harrison are. In whatever order you want to have them in, I don't care. It will not bother me if anybody wants to put them in different order, because they are literally so good, these 3 wide receivers, that we might be looking at the rarest draft class we've ever seen with how good these guys are. I mean, Rome can separate off the line. He has good long speed to outrun you. He has strength to beat you across the middle. He really can almost do it all. A little better blocker if you want to, get into, again, nitpicking things. But he is a very polished wide receiver who proved it for many years in Washington, not Alabama, not Georgia, not Florida State, not Ohio State, not these like premier colleges we think of, at Washington, with 2 other wide receivers who are very good wide receivers and had very good careers themselves.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, though, because for me, these top 3 is literally splitting hairs. It is so close that I had to find some small thing to kind of hang my hat on to rank these 3. Otherwise, I probably would have put them all at 1. Like, I would have done the same thing that you did. I would just put them all at 1, with the backslashes, and then 2 Brian Thomas. Like, to me, it's easy who the tier 1 receivers are in this. For me, I have Malik Neighbors at 3. I do not feel that Malik Neighbors is as explosive off the line, and I don't think he tested as good as Rome. I think he's faster I think he's got better long distance speed than Rome, but other than that, that's about it. That's the only thing that I have to say is the reason why I put Rome ahead of him. It's because of that initial explosion off the line. I think Rome beats him by, I don't know, 0.02 seconds and is able to get the separation there. So
Rome is more explosive in that phone booth. A lot of people like to call it the phone booth.
The phone booth, yeah.
Right in the beginning, yes. Rome is much more explosive there. Malik is then more explosive past there.
Yeah.
If you don't stop Malik at the line, he's gonna run by you. We talked about it with Brian Thomas and Mitchell, but on a whole nother level, Malik is even to those guys where he will just burn you down the field.
And I'm assuming Malik's your number 2, though.
He is my number 2. Yes, he is my number 2. He is not as polished as Rome is. Rome is a much more polished receiver. Malik is just a tad more athletic. So
I don't know if it's as far as you think it is.
I said a tad. A tad more athletic. A tad. Just the slightly, but he is more athletic overall. I have no doubt about that. I mean, Malik did it for 2 years in the same offense as Brian Thomas, where Brian Thomas could only do it for 1. Malik had and younger. Malik is only I think was only a 3-year player. I don't think he redshirted at all. So
I think he was only a 3-year player. Yeah.
I know a lot of people like to compare guys to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson because they all came out of LSU. Malik is probably closer to Jefferson than he is Chase, in my opinion. But nobody believed in Justin Jefferson when he came out. He was drafted behind Jalen Reagor, rookie drafts being drafted behind Jalen Reagor, and like look at what we thought now. Again, you're splitting hairs on him. If you want to say you would rather Rome Odunze because he's 3 inches taller and 12 pounds heavier and is more polished, fine with me. No problem with that at all. Because you're talking about 3 wide receivers who literally could end up being we're all in the conversation for being the wide receiver 1 dynasty next year. So there's not really anything to say bad about any of the 3 of them. So you have Rome at 2? Was that?
I have
Or
Marvin
Rome your
Harrison
number 1?
Jr. at 2.
Okay.
This is solely based on not having proper test numbers. It really is. The film looks great. Everything looks good on film. It's hard to get a 100% clear cut thing with wide receivers coming from Ohio State, though, right? Like you're playing on a loaded team for the most part. I know they had a down year this year, but for the most part, you're playing with a loaded team. You have a lot of talent around you. Marvin Harrison had a significant amount of talent around him. He's really, 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 really good at everything he does. It's just that without having the test numbers to really get an idea, at least, it's very hard for me to say you get to be my clear cut number 1. The tape, absolutely. But when you factor in analytics, which is something that I do, even though a lot of people don't think I do, it's very hard for me to put him overall at number 1 and just say you're the clear cut guy. With that said, if I'm drafting 101, or if I have a chance at the first wide receiver off the board, it most likely will be Marvin Harrison Jr. only because of the fact that I think that he has that potential to be that. It's just, like I said, we're splitting hairs here when it comes to ranking these 3. You can put them in any order you want, like Mark said. It's just, for me, not having the testing numbers to back up the tape is it feels like it's not a complete picture. You know what I mean? So
I mean,
for me,
and honestly, for a guy like Caleb Williams, I looked at it differently than for a guy like Marvin Harrison. And a lot of it has to do with what's around Marvin compared to Caleb Williams.
yeah.
Marvin's dad is preparing him for the NFL.
Oh yeah, for sure,
And
absolutely.
him not doing the testing, I don't think was him being this. Well, I'm just better.
Nope,
I'm too good
nope.
for it.
Yeah, I don't think it that way either. No, I don't think it
No,
that
I'm
way
just
either.
where Caleb, it came off that way, and maybe that's just projecting, whatever. But it came off that way. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to do this. I don't need to do this. I mean, sure, he did it at his pro day, whatever. But I don't need to do this. Where Marvin's like, like you've watched me. You know who my father is. I'm not just out there not working. Like, I've been working my entire life
Yeah,
because of
for
who
sure.
my dad is. You brought up the school he came from. The only thing I'll say to that is he outperformed
Absolutely.
those guys, and he was not the highest rated of them coming out of. Even with his last name, he still was not rated. He was behind 2 Ohio State wide receivers in his recruiting class.
He absolutely was. Yep.
And he outplayed both of them.
Yep. Even to the point where one of them's gone, and it was a 5-star recruit. He's in PSU now.
He is. His first season, he didn't put up these crazy stat numbers with Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yep.
All kind of getting that time, but still played in 13 games. So at least he probably worked himself into that 4th wide receiver role on a team with Emeka Ibuka and Julian Fleming, and there's one other guy I'm missing. I know the other. There was another one. I forget who he is.
It's probably the guy that's transferred 10 times.
No, that was. Oh no! If I say Fleming's the one who just transferred, but there was another one that was very similar to Fleming. Was like, okay, which one is it going to be between these two? I forget who it is now. But then in year 2, he took it. He's like, okay, Garrett, you're gone. Olave, you're gone. All right, it's just me and you. JSN got hurt, didn't play most of the year. Marvin took up that mantle and really ran with it. And again, though, I'm not going to say anything negative about putting him at number 2 because this is not a. Literally, you could just write 1 next to all of their names, and
I agree.
We're fine.
Yeah,
and that's where using the where you use. I'm blanking on the name now. Tiers instead of rankings makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference.
When you tier out your players, you draft in a better way. Because if you say, "Oh, Marvin Harrison's my 1," and then you don't get him with your pick, you're somehow upset. But if you have Rome and Neighbors and Harrison all in tier 1 together,
Yep.
you're getting pretty much the same caliber of player. Now, in most draft classes, we don't have this, though. There is usually a Marvin Harrison, and then the guys behind them are tier 2, tier 3, tier 4.
Correct.
It's not the case this year. I mean,
No.
the difference between Brian Thomas compared to these three is so much larger than these three are to each other. I can't emphasize it enough how big of a drop you fall. And it's not to say Brian Thomas is bad. He can be a wide receiver 1. It's just these three guys are just so polished looking. All three of them.
And I will say that even with the top 7 that we discussed, and I'll put Troy Franklin in there for, in whatever, but the top 7, really, if you take a look at it, I mean, you're looking at potentially, and we didn't mention Xavier Worthy with his speed. We didn't mention Roman Wilson, who's getting some love, even though his Michigan tape isn't the best. Keon Coleman is not. We didn't mention Keon Coleman from Florida State. Like, this wide receiving class overall has the potential to be one of the best we've ever seen, and it's not just from the top 3. It's from guys like Xavier Leggett. It's guys like A.D. Mitchell. It's guys like Brian Thomas. Lad McConkey just being a steady workhorse. I mean, it's all of those guys. And, for me, Rome being at 1 is simply just because the explosiveness on tape matches the explosiveness in his testing. So that it wasn't just, poor cornerback play. That was the receiver. And, that's honestly the only reason why I put Rome at 1. But again, you could go 1A, 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 and I don't care with them. They're my tier 1 easily. Brian Thomas, and I would say probably Brian Thomas and A.D. Mitchell would be my tier 2. And then, the other guys would probably be tier 3 from like 6 to, I don't know.
So yes,
6 to like 9, 6 to 10.
It gets murky, but I also could see a world where Leggett moves into almost a tier of his own. Well, maybe not tier 2, but into a tier 3 by himself. And then the guys behind them are just the.
I can see him
take
tier
any
2.
one of them, and you're kind of going to get what you get out of it type of deals.
I could see him at tier 2. I could.
Let's talk about Brock Bowers.
The cream of the crop, rise to the top. Never eat a pig because a pig's a cop. I don't.
I can't take anything away from him. He in college looked amazing, and not even just as catching the ball. They used him on ends of rounds, and he took plays, 90 yards, and did all these things as a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of his weight, he's not a true tight end. They're not going to get you. I won't even say his weight as much. He's definitely more of a hybrid player. He's 6'3", 243. So he's no taller than 4 of the wide receivers we just talked about, which is abnormal for a tight end. And again, his weight, 243 compared to pretty much 210 pounds for most of these guys. He didn't do his testing, so we don't really know what his 40 time would be. I mean, on the field, like I said, he has the breakaway speed, so clearly he has game speed, so that kind of thing. If he gets into an offense that utilizes him properly, but if he walks into the NFL and they go, well, you're a tight end, so we're going to use you like one, he is going to get destroyed.
Yep.
Because he's not that size.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a comparison to George Kittle. Is George Kittle that small, or is it just they're using George Kittle's game?
I don't think Kittle's that tall. I think Kittle's about as tall as Brock. I don't think he's much taller than Brock.
6'4", 250. So okay. So I mean, Kittle is a mauler. So if that's the mentality Brock Bowers is going to have, and yet I'm a little bit on the underside, but I'm still gonna kick your behind, then great. He wasn't asked to do it a ton of Georgia. Even though they ran the ball, they weren't stupid and we were like, well, we're gonna put you there and make you be this run blocker.
He's gonna have to be utilized like Sam Laporta was in Detroit last year.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to. He's gonna have. I mean, my thing with the tight end position, and reasons why I hate the tight end position, especially in fantasy, comes down to the post I shared in the chat the other day. In the last 10 years, 9 tight ends have been picked in the first round. They've combined for 0 All-Pro nods and only 1 1,000-yard season. That's it. That's it for the tight ends in the first round. And if you go, and you can even go back any further, that only one rookie tight end, and that's Sam Laporta, has put up a season worth talking about. Because even though Kyle Pitts went for 1,000 in his rookie year, he had 1 touchdown. And it was in London. And that was it. So, I mean, it's just the tight end position is just so awful. It's awful.
Sam Laporta had a great season, but what also made it even better was you were drafting him in the second round of your rookie draft.
Yeah. Third sometimes, depending on the.
I would say not
format.
Even like he was the top of the second. It was more probably the mid-second. That's if Brock Bowers was going in that range, I would jump all over that because a team's going to draft him to utilize his playmaking ability.
Yeah.
But the idea that he could be Travis Kelce is just not there. Travis Kelce has the body type and wingspan to go over the middle, catch probably almost anything you throw at him, and go with the ball. Brock isn't that big. He doesn't have the wingspan like that. So if it's not near him, he's going to have trouble catching it. That's what made Dalton Kincaid so interesting. Was he's built more like a Travis Kelce and plays more like a Travis Kelce, even better than Pitts did, because Kincaid was more polished than Kyle Pitts is. Now, Kyle Pitts has now had 3 years in the league, so maybe now he finally puts it together. But that's the other problem with tight ends.
Yeah. You gotta wait forever on them.
2 to 3 years. So, people were drafting Brock Bowers as a Devy pick with the thought that in year 1 of the NFL, he's going to break out. And it's just so rare. Like, you could possibly end up having to wait 6 years for that Devy pick to pan out.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question from a standpoint of just rookie drafts in general. Where would you take Brock Bowers in a rookie draft? Because for me, I think it's probably much lower than most people would. And for all you viewers out there that are listening, if you're a tight end lover, I apologize because we just don't take the tight end position as seriously because there's just no reason to. But where would you take him in rookie picks, in your opinion, or feel comfortable taking him in rookie picks?
I'd probably...
We'll say Superflex, obviously, and obviously PPR, tight end premium, yeah.
It's going to... For me, it would be that early-ish round 2.
Yeah,
so
thank you. Okay, I'm not the only one then.
No,
okay.
What I'm looking at is 4 quarterbacks. I would safely
maybe
take
5.
Ahead of them. Maybe 5, yes.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5, but 4 at this moment safely ahead of them, because I think J.J. McCarthy is going to get the draft capital.
Yeah, for sure.
That I would 100% take him over Brock Bowers. Michael Penix, Bo Nix, we'll see. Maybe they will, and will move them ahead of him. But at this moment, you don't know. Both of those guys look like they could be picked at 11, 12, 13, 14, or in round 2. So, and even Spencer Rattler, I'll put in that grouping of, if the Giants draft Spencer Rattler, he might move ahead of him.
Yeah, I have Bowers as an early second. I wouldn't take it. I mean, we're going to probably see him go as high as
108, 107, 106, 105,
yeah,
104.
I was going to say we're going to see him
105.
I was going to say we'll probably see him between 105 and 110. But for me, I put him at I think it was 203 in a mock draft the other day, 204 I think, somewhere right in that range that I did. I almost feel like I would take the top 5 wide receivers and the top 4 quarterbacks for sure over him, and that's just 9 players there, and that doesn't even include Trey Benson. That doesn't include, you know what I mean? Like
the 5 wide receivers is easy. Mitchell 100% is over him.
Yeah, I maybe even Xavier Leggett and
That's
and
what I'm
let
saying.
him
Both of
comp
them
you
are
over.
possibly, are possibilities. Where I was like, okay, this is where it's around. I'll think about it. Is that running back spot?
Yeah,
Will it? And that's depending on where they land. Maybe they move ahead of them. Maybe they don't. You know,
yeah.
if
Brooks,
Brooks and Benson
Benson.
don't get this
Yeah.
great landing spot, I would probably take Brock Bowers just because punt running back in this rookie draft and wait till next year or something, trade for one.
Yeah,
So that's about where right now. But that two, 3, depending, because again, more quarterbacks could possibly push their way up that I would much rather take a shot on than the tight end.
yeah, and it's just the only way that I would really feel comfortable is if I had a tight end that I could just like in a position to be able to wait on him, you know, or a strong enough wide receiver and flex spot where I didn't have to rely on the tight end spot if I have to start a tight end in the league. Like, it's just I don't see the benefits in taking a top tight end in a rookie draft, even over the marginal quarterbacks at 5, 6, 7, especially in this class. I don't know, man. It's one of those situations where I'm not sure I feel confident in it. Now there is a huge drop off, obviously, after a certain point, and I don't want to say a huge drop off, but there is definitely a drop off after a certain point when it comes to that. And I feel like Bowers is clear cut over some of those tiers. It's just I don't want to wait, and that's my biggest thing, especially when historically speaking, there's a tight end on this list that we're not talking about that is going to end up being the best tight end in this class. Like, everybody wants to say it's Bowers, but historically speaking, it is somebody that's going to be a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick in that range, maybe 2nd, if depending on if you land another Sam Laporta. But yeah, it's just historically speaking, it's the way it goes.
It's landing spot. Tight ends come down to landing spot.
Jaheim Bell is a guy that I have in mind. I'll throw a name out there.
Sure.
But he's small for a tight end too. He's not very big for a tight end.
The guy that I'm keeping on, and I think it's more just because I watched a lot of them, is Theo Johnson.
Theo Johnson, yep. Theo Johnson's another guy that I like in this class. Well, I don't want to say I like, but Theo Johnson's another guy I'm keeping an eye on, I should say.
The Jatavian Sanders from Texas, he's getting love. He's talked about as the second best tight end. You know, I get it.
I don't see it.
No,
I don't see it.
The dude from Ohio State. What is his name?
The dude from Ohio State.
Stover.
Oh, Stover. That's right, Stover.
And Stover might be the guy you're talking about, because one thing Sam Laporta could do is he was a capable blocker. You don't come from Iowa and not be able to block people. Let's just be real.
Right.
Cade Stover is similar in he can run routes, but he also is a very capable blocker. Now, sometimes it also means that you don't get to run routes because your blocking is too well. O.J. Howard. So, you know, that's one of those things. But
Kyle Pitts.
He wasn't a good blocker either.
That's what I mean. He was a terrible blocker.
He didn't do either one well. He was just an athletic freak, and that's really all people were like, oh, look how athletic he is. Look, he's fast, he's big, he's tall. Yeah, well, it doesn't catch the ball. Doesn't run routes. He's just been bigger than everybody and faster than everybody his entire life.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just this tight end position. If you're thinking about taking a tight end or you want to take a tight end, unless you get really good value on Bowers, I would just wait. Just wait.
I mean, you could probably, if you got somebody who's like, oh, I want to take Brock Bowers here, and they'll get a good trade for him.
Yeah, for sure.
You probably could get some good and get multiple pieces for that one guy, and that probably will help you.
But
longer.
But do not draft to trade.
No, I'm talking about trade to pick. Like if you got a guy who's like, oh man, I really want to get Bowers here. Like you know, I'll give you this, and it's a great deal. Take it. Like take that.
Yeah.
You know, and utilize the hype some guys have when you know you're not going to draft them, but you can drop back 2 spots, get probably the same guy you would have drafted 2 spots ago, and you picked up another second-round pick or whatever, or a starting player to go along with it, do it.
Do it for sure. Do it.
It's one of those. It's a good lesson to even think about when, if you're at 102 and you don't really need the quarterback, and the guy at 104 does, send the trade offer. Hey, maybe you don't get Marvin Harrison. Maybe you took the gamble. You don't.
Whatever.
Take Rome Odunze. Take Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
But you're going to get something along with, and you're not losing that much value.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if it's just two spots or whatever. If I'm picking around 107, 108, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be picking, throwing out trade offers to the people at 109, 110, 111 to see if they want to try to move up and see what I can get from them in that standpoint for those. So, I don't know, man. I feel like the tight end position in this class, and then we talked about it, C2C moving forward in the C2C realm, because we do have this draft coming up soon. The tight end landscape as a whole in college right now, there's not really a clear-cut guy that's standing out and going, this is the guy we must go get. It feels like Brock Bowers was that guy for 3 years, and there's really nobody now.
Is it really? I feel like Bowers was a college anomaly for tight ends. I feel like we don't see that from the tight end position until they're junior, seniors who've done it for a year even. And it's the position, I think, as a whole, and it takes time to learn. I think Bowers was just athletic enough, and Georgia went, well, you're a very athletic person. We'll utilize you. And then he, took these 90-yard end around, and everybody's like, oh, my God, look at this tight end. And, like, if his name had – if he had the WR next to his name, would we talk about him in the same way?
No.
Because he's not far off from being a wide receiver. There are many wide receivers who are 6'3", 243 pounds. What's Johnny Wilson's size? 6'6", 240.
6'7",
he's listed as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So, if we just change the letters next to his name, I don't think we talk about Brock Bowers in the same light.
No, for sure, and that's 1,000. And let's be honest. I mean, it reminds me a lot of T.J. Hawkinson. Like, Hawkinson isn't a huge, size guy, or he wasn't when he came out. A lot of people were like, hawk this, hawk that, but even Hawkinson still had, his issues when he came into the league, and took a while to really develop into that standpoint. So, again, it's, Travis Kelce was around 5 pick. Mark Andrews was around 3 pick. George Kittle was around 3, I believe, as well. Like,
Baltimore drafted a tight end
in round 1
ahead of Mark Andrews.
Yeah, a guy who played 2, and a guy who was super athletic. Don't Hayden Hurst was so athletic. He
was more well-rounded than Mark Andrews was.
Yeah,
that's why he got drafted higher than he did.
Yeah, and Hurst also was, it was a 2-sport athlete. You get drafted in 2 sports. You get drafted in baseball too.
You want to know why Hayden Hurst wasn't as good for fantasy? Because he was such a good blocker. He got pushed into that role while Mark Andrews wasn't, and he got utilized in a better way.
And I will say, though, I have loved the evolution of Mark Andrews, though, because Mark Andrews has become a really good blocker now.
Yeah.
He has molded Kelce. Right, he has molded, exactly, and they have both molded themselves. And look what happened. Antonio Gates was the same way. I mean, you just look at some of these tight ends, like, the pass catching thing is great, but it's not. The fantasy world needs to understand that you need to be a well-rounded player to get that opportunity. Hayden didn't get it because he kept getting hurt. If Hurst hadn't got hurt, I honestly believe that he probably would have had a very good career as a tight end in the NFL, because he was so well-rounded and polished.
He had a good NFL. He has a good NFL career, a good fantasy career.
Well, as
an NFL player, he's done very well for him.
Well, he's a great supporting team, player. I just mean like a guy that you're going to remember. He would have molded into that. It just he hasn't really been able to because of injuries. Injuries slow him down. He's been so hurt. He's just hurt all the time. It's like He's like the Kevin White of tight ends, minus the draft capital.
I wouldn't go that far. Hayden Hurst is much better. Much better.
You know who the top 3 wide receivers in Kevin White's class were?
Was Percy Harvin in with him, or was he before him?
No, it was before him. There's one guy out of those top three that is still
Stephon
in the
Diggs in
league.
his class?
Was not Diggs. I mean, he might have been in the class, but it wasn't Diggs. He wasn't top three in that class.
Oh no! I know Diggs wasn't the top 3. He was drafted like.
I mean,
not
like
late,
in
but
his
late.
in his rookie year. The rookie
Oh, I
year.
have
Do you
no
know who the
idea.
top three were?
No.
So one was Kevin White. He was like number 3 or number 2, depending on where you had him.
Yeah. He got
Devontae
drafted
Parker.
like 8th overall.
Devontae Parker.
Who got drafted in the top 10, I believe, too.
And the only guy that's really mattered that I know off the top of my head without looking further into it, Amari Cooper.
I think also a first rounder, but later.
He was.
I really think Stephon Diggs was in that class, but he was like 3rd round and was like,
Diggs was like a 3rd round pick. Yeah, so I mean, but those were the top 3 wide receivers consensus across the board coming out. And I hated Kevin White. I loved Devontae Parker. I was kind of meh on Amari Cooper.
I mean, Amari Cooper's been meh. He's had a very good career,
He's
but
had a great career.
Meh.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like he's very meh in general.
Amari Cooper has had a great career. If you take a look at his overall career, it's pretty fucking good. Like it's like you just don't. He's so just meh. Like nobody wants this guy.
Well, a big part of it was because I think he has a bad attitude sometimes. But I think part of his problem in Oakland, that's where they were at the time. Don't come after me.
Don't at me.
Freaking had so many drops. So I think Oakland was just like over it. Like, we're done with you. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, 6,000 yard seasons.
In what? 7 years? 8 years?
No. 11 seasons.
11?
Oh no! Sorry.
I was going to say not 11 seasons. He's the same age as Calvin Ridley. So
9 seasons. They
9 seasons.
break out his 2018 because he was with Oakland and Dallas.
Yeah. So nine seasons. He's had 6. I mean, that's not.
He's averaging 1,000 yards a season because he's got 9,488 yards. But
that's it. I mean, he's meh, but that's a pretty great career overall. Sorry, that's pretty great.
So you say he's a Hall of Famer?
I mean, I would have to see who else they put in, but at this point, only 9,000 yards receiving, probably not.
That's not a great career.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to say probably. I think when it's all said and done, I think Amari Cooper will be a Hall of Famer for sure. I mean, he's still only 28 years old. He's already been in the league for 9 years. I think he turns 29 this year, or maybe he turns 30 this year. But I mean, he came out 4 years before Calvin Ridley, and they're the same freaking age.
He'll be 30 in about 2 months.
Yeah, so I mean,
but that's because Calvin Ridley is like weirdly old.
Well, it's because he didn't go to school like his first like 2 years of when after he graduated high school.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, he reported late or something. He didn't even start college until he was like 21.
That'd be why then.
Yeah. Oh, all right, man. I don't have anything else tonight. Do you have anything? Don't fall into the rookie draft, the rookie fever. Don't. I've done it numerous times. I have become wise beyond my years now. Do not fall into it unless you are in a position with a team that you can absolutely make a move like it. Do not fall for rookie fever, and because I tell you what, right now, as much as I love rebuilding teams, I have destroyed several of my teams falling for this trap. So do not do it. Take it from me, who's lived through it and still living it with some teams. So
since we won't have a show till the week after the draft.
Yep.
And you are a Commanders fan.
I am.
Who is your prediction for 2?
Okay, so
because according to Adam Peters, is that his name?
Adam Peters, yeah. They're going to
They are
finalize who they. Yeah.
pretty much almost locked in. So
Yeah. I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels.
okay.
I think Jaden Daniels is going to get it primarily because I think Cliff likes the skill set because it's so similar to like what Kyler Murray offers. So, and he's bigger than Kyler.
Yeah.
So I think that he feels like he can work with it. If it was anybody else other than Cliff as the offensive coordinator, I would probably say they'd go Drake May. But
So, do you think Drake goes to New England then?
no,
Do you think JJ goes to New England?
I think I would not be surprised if McCarthy went to New England. But I do see a potential trade out spot because I think New England wants Jaden Daniels. And I think that they're going to be open for business where they might actually trade up with the Giants, knowing the Giants are looking at JJ McCarthy, and they slide back to 6 and the Giants move up to 3. I think that is actually more likely to happen than Washington taking May or JJ McCarthy at 2.
Okay.
And that would leave New England at 6, where I think that they would probably either take the best available wide receiver, because I do not think that Drake May fits the Alex Van Pelt mold per se. That could also still be a trade out spot as well. But I think the Chargers will trade out of 5 if that happens. I think May will go 5th. I think that will be the furthest he falls, will be 5th.
Any chance Arizona trades from 4? You think they are 100% locked in? They are taking Marvin and not.
I don't think they're 100% locked in because I don't think any team is 100% locked in. But when you're looking at the top, if it goes quarterback 1 through 3, I think it's going to be hard for them to want to move off Marvin Harrison. But they're going to get a lot of good offers for whoever that 4th quarterback is. So no matter who it is, whether it's May, McCarthy, whatever, they're going to get it. You have Denver, potentially the Raiders. You have Minnesota, all sitting behind them that are all kind of like in this influx of quarterback limbo that will definitely call Arizona and be like, hey, here's an offer for you. But I think that if Arizona doesn't get something that rocks their world, they're probably going to take Marvin Harrison and lock in on that. So at 4.
And last one. So if they take Harrison and that 4th quarterback sitting there, Chargers have to trade out, right?
Oh yeah, the Chargers will trade out. I think the trade. I think the 5. I think whoever the 4th quarterback is, whether it's McCarthy, it may be Jaden Daniels or May. I don't think it matters. I think whoever's at 5, that's going to be the 4th quarterback taken right there. I would be shocked to see the 4th quarterback fall out of the top 5. In years past, I feel like that if it happens, it happens. I mean, I don't think we'll see like a Matt Corral type class where they just all fall to the middle of the. But for this particular class, I would be shocked to see it a little bit more just because of the quarterback needy teams behind them at 5, where the Chargers, are not going to take a quarterback. And at this particular point in time, unless they draft an offensive lineman, they're probably not locked into a person there at 5 because even if it's Malik Neighbors, if you trade down to 8, what the hell does it matter? Rome Odunze will probably be there. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, even if you go to 11,
I mean, it's still,
there's enough wide receivers.
Yeah,
because if you're trading with Minnesota, you're getting their other 1st-round pick. I just don't.
Well, what's Denver? Denver's at 8 though, right?
No, Denver's at 13, 14, something like that.
I thought the Raiders were at 14.
8 is Tennessee.
Oh, that's right, Tennessee.
Wait, no.
Who's at 7?
6 is New York. 7 is Tennessee. 8 is Atlanta. 9 is Chicago.
Oh, that's right. Atlanta's at 8. That's right.
Yeah.
And the Jets are at 10. So
the Jets are at 10.
Yeah.
A lot of Brock Bowers talk for them. I really hope they go for a tackle, but a lot of Brock Bowers talk for them.
I really don't care who they go for as long as Aaron Rodgers isn't there in a couple of years. So
I mean, he's not there after at least. I'd give him 2 years tops. There's no way he's there any longer than that.
That's what he said, is he's going to be there for the next 2. I'm like, can we just shut you up and just get you out of the limelight, please? With my luck, ESPN will hire him as an analyst on Monday nights.
Not with ESPN and Pat are very close, and Pat kicked him off his show, so I don't see ESPN bringing him in at all. I wouldn't put anything past Fox or those other ones, but I think he has no shot at ESPN at this point.
I don't think he even wants to. I don't think he wants to be honest with you. I think he
No,
wants
I
to
don't
go
think so
on.
either.
I think he wants to
But-
go make love to the nature.
Money talks, so if somebody offers him enough money.
So, what about you, though? What are your thoughts on it? I mean, do you think that that's pretty plausible across the board, or do you think we see a shocker somewhere?
Well, I mean, we will 100% see a shocker. I think one of the shockers we could see is Seattle. If in those first 5 picks 4 quarterbacks go, I can see Seattle trying to get ahead of whoever didn't move up. So, if Minnesota moved into 5, or if Vegas moved into 5, or Denver moved in 5, because they're all like Minnesota's 11. I think Denver's 14. Oh, Vegas is 15. They're all like very close to each other. Seattle's not, I don't think, far behind that then, but I foresee them trying to get ahead of those guys. So Atlanta at 8 is a possible spot, because at Atlanta at this point you're looking at defensive end and tackle, I would say, and those are both
so, yeah.
both very deep in this class. Not like the top guy, but solid. Across the board for both of them. So you could fall back to, I think Seattle's at 16 or 17, fall back to that spot and still get a very good. I mean, Jared Verse has been, talked about slipping into the 20s now, which, man, if that man can make it to Tampa's pick.
Oh man, if Jared Verse,
but
he's going to make the league. He's going to make the league regret letting him slide as far. I can tell you.
Maybe he won't. I just, a lot of mock drafts of him. So Seattle, I think, no, I did not realize it until the other day that their offensive coordinator is Michael Penix's offensive coordinator for the entire time when he was in Washington.
Yeah.
So I could really see if he believes Penix. So if they pass on him, that would worry me, I think, a little bit, because it's not like Geno Smith is this great quarterback. Now, maybe it means they like Sam Howell, but that's a risky move too. So I could see them.
I don't know if Sam Howell's necessarily a risky move. Well, but is he though? What makes him so? Well, what makes him so risky? I'm not.
Turnovers he had last year, and don't get me wrong, Washington's offensive line was abysmal.
It was awful.
Not holding that against him, but he still made bad decisions, and maybe
but he
it was
still
coaching.
Led the league in passing for like 10 games.
Oh, because he made him throw the ball so damn much. I don't know why, but he's risky in the sense of he's raw. I mean, he's we don't really know what we have there at this point, because Washington was not run well. We all know this.
The last year was I mean, it was a lame duck coaching staff in general. I mean, I feel like outside of winning the Super Bowl, that whole coaching staff was getting fired.
I'm not even sure winning the Super Bowl would have kept them their job.
But that offensive line,
saying, thank you, goodbye.
Sam Howell's definitely tough, because that offensive line was so garbage that you can't really.
And it was bad so hard. At North Carolina too. The dude's never had a good offensive line, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like he hasn't either. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with you. I think Seattle's definitely a team to keep an eye on for sure. I mean, especially with the Michael Penix connection, it automatically makes it, a potentially good landing spot, because, to be honest with you, Washington kind of ran a pro-style offense.
Yeah.
So it's not outside of the realm of possibility. You get a guy who is already familiar with your system to come in. And Michael Penix is older. We talked about this with quarterbacks not too long ago, that age really isn't as important anymore, especially at the quarterback position. Because you're still going to get X amount of years with the way that the league protects quarterbacks, as long as he can stay healthy. And we talked about left-handed coaches, or coaching left-handed quarterbacks, is one of the most difficult things to do for various different reasons. And he had success with that guy already at the offensive coordinator position. So it just makes sense that Seattle would go ahead and take him.
I really think New England should trade out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I get it. Take the quarterback, whatever. That team is just so void of talent all around. Trade back, get picks, and go for the top guy next year, or go for a vet. Put pieces around it and add a Russell Wilson next year.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't even be pissed off at them for even if they stayed at 3, taking Marvin Harrison Jr. and then taking Spencer Rattler.
Also good choices. I just think if you're gonna go with Marvin, just trade back. Get a different wide receiver later on.
I mean,
just trade back and get picks.
Well, I mean, but it depends on the offer, though. You can't just trade back for the sake of trading.
But I'm saying somebody's gonna, in my opinion, somebody's gonna overvalue that quarterback that
for sure
they're gonna go for. So you're gonna get just with the way the NFL works, you're gonna get that offer.
Yeah, it just for me, the way that I look at it from a certain standpoint is I really like Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler has the ability to put it together if they can get a coaching staff that believes in him, like Buffalo did Josh Allen, or Philadelphia did Jalen Hurts, right? Like if they can find a coaching staff that believes in Spencer Rattler, I think Rattler can put it together. If you're New England and you're sitting at 3, or even if you're Washington and you're sitting at 2, like I know it's not going to happen. I know it's going to be a quarterback, but like you have to think about this. If you're not getting a trade offer that's going to knock your socks off, like why not take that wide receiver and quarterback duo? It's more so if you're New England than Washington, because I think Washington is definitely going to go quarterback. But if you're New England, why not take that wide receiver and quarterback, duo? And like if for Alex Van Pelt, Alex Van Pelt would be I'd be ecstatic if I was him, if that was how we went about it. Personally. So,
I mean, Bailey Zappi is still on the team, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that means though.
I mean, what it
Jacoby Brissett's there.
Means is
Jacoby Brissett's there. They have a veteran there, so
is if you look at it and go, okay, well, we don't. Jaden Daniels was the guy we wanted. We didn't get him. We're not huge fans of Drake May, which whatever. That's your scouting. Whatever, you pay a lot of money for it. That's your choice. So don't. What I don't want you to do is force the pick. Just because you are that bad and don't have a quarterback, don't force Drake May onto your team and then ruin that kid's career because you felt like you had to take the quarterback because you were at number 3.
Yeah.
So I just, for them, I think just the way that team is built, trade out. I mean, if you believe Drake May is the guy, then take him. But you could utilize more picks than that. I don't see Arizona moving. They would have to get like this bombshell deal, probably bigger than a deal than even New England would get for 3 to move off of 4. And then I look at the opposite way. I see very little chance the Chargers stay at 5.
Yeah, I think that's the lowest percent. I think that is the most likely first trade spot is going to be at 5. I think New England's 50-50. I think the Chargers are probably 85-15. I feel it, and that may even be only a 1-spot move. That could be a New York jump 1-spot right there.
Yeah, to keep somebody else from jumping down.
If the Giants are 100% sold on wanting to move up like that, that's the only.
I wouldn't be surprised to see LA do it again. Then just bounce.
And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see New England take JJ McCarthy though either. No. If it's McCarthy there, I would not be surprised. That's the other 50% is McCarthy, and the other 50% is a trade out. I honestly think the smartest decision for them would be Marvin Harrison Jr. and a guy like Spencer Rattler, but that's just me personally, because that team is so void of talent. Like you said, you're going to need to get talent in there, and even if you're not sold on Rattler, you're not with a 2nd-round pick. You're not putting pressure on him to start right away, so you can start Brissett.
Or
Like,
Bailey Zappi and see what you got with him.
Or start with Zappi, and either way you start. I think Brissett would most likely get the start because he spent time with Van Pelt. So I think Brissett would most likely get the
Sure,
start.
but I mean, if you're looking at that team going, okay, well, do we have something in Bailey Zappi that maybe we don't? It just that team's not good.
No,
it's not
no,
good.
but I mean, even if that's the case, though, I mean, it's just if you take Rattler in the second or any quarterback you take at 203, you're not putting pressure on them to start right away. It doesn't matter who it is.
I wouldn't do it.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying, though. You would have to force him to win that competition outright, like no doubts that this is going to be your starter. And chances are he's not going to do that as a rookie. So you just run with Brissett or Zappi for 8 weeks. If it's not working,
start with Zappi, and then if you have to go to Brissett, it's easier than doing the opposite, I think.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, though, is like after a certain week, whether it's like week 10, week 9, week 11, you're going to know whether you're in this or not. And if you're not in this, run the rookie out there, see what you got in him.
Yeah. At that point, I'm also on the side of sometimes don't run the rookie out there, and in this terrible season you got going on.
I understand that, but I don't understand it towards the end of the year, because if you're out of it, just go out and see what you got him. Maybe he wins you 2 or 3 games, cool, but at least you have a better idea.
Or you get him killed.
But you have a better understanding heading into next year where you need to work on it. If he shows
Not if
flashes,
you get him killed. Not if you get him killed.
But
like I legit mean you get him injured because your team is so terrible.
Well, I mean,
gets destroyed.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's
David Carr.
Yeah, well, I mean, but David Carr was one of those situations where he had to start right away. Like that was.
Because it was expansion. They had nobody else. Like he was their first pick of there, but they just literally had that dude had no help whatsoever.
But I mean, I don't see a problem running him out for 4 games at the end of the year, 5 games at the end of the year, and say, here you go, like, here's an opportunity, here's a little bit of an audition. Let's see what we got in you, because if we're locked into pick 2 next year in the quarterback class, which to me isn't as good as it is this year at the top, like, do I have to spend it on a quarterback, or can I roll out Rattler next year, or whoever 203 next year as my starter? You know what I mean? Like, I think it just gives you a better assessment. Like you said, let's see what you got, but like, what do you have if you don't give them the shot and the opportunity to see what you have? So, like, you just put yourself in a dilemma in that situation. That would be the only way. Like Patrick Mahomes sitting and Jordan Love sitting. I mean, yeah, they were winning games. There was no need to put them out there to see what you had with them, but teams that are losing,
rooms ahead of them.
But teams that are losing, though, I don't see the fault in running out your rookie there and just let's see what you have, because you don't want to be forcing this dilemma. If you already have the guy on your roster, you can address other needs at that spot the following year. So that's my mentality with it. Don't run him out there, just because you have him on the team, unless he clear cut without a doubt. You have 0 doubts that he is the starting quarterback. Like, you don't need to do it. Just if you start losing, yeah, then throw him out there, see what happens. What's it going to do? I mean, his career's either going to be over because you're going to take a quarterback the next year and throw that guy out there, or his career is going to be over because his anus split open. Like, who the hell cares? Like, it doesn't change anything. Like, one way or the other. You just got to give these guys an opportunity or chance. Alrighty. Yeah, so there you have it. That's it for the Dynasty Academy tonight. Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Well, the Dynasty Academy, once again, every Thursday nights, 8:15 p.m. A little bit late tonight, but I appreciate you guys. A little bit rough night with the daughters, put them to bed. Happens sometimes.
No show next week, kids. It is a draft, so enjoy your draft, people, because
no show next week. Are we doing a live call though? Are we gonna hop on and talk, or no? Are we not doing that this year?
You and I, yes,
no.
But it won't be.
You don't want to stream it live? We can stream it live if you want. No,
we'll talk about that.
I don't know how many people are going to watch it, but I mean,
not even that. Sometimes we say some things that maybe other people shouldn't hear.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, whatever. I mean, who cares?
We'll discuss that. We'll see. Maybe. Maybe.
All right. There may be a draft special next week. You can watch us as we tune in with the picks and whatnot as well. But for it, once again, shout out to Shady Sports Network giving us a platform. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you were hitting the notifications, getting it every Thursday night at 8:15. We talk everything from campus to Can to Dynasty to Devi. Sometimes we'll sprinkle in a little redraft, very rarely, for everybody out there, just because we know that redraft is still played for some
In
reason.
August, we'll talk a little about it.
Yeah, once we get closer to August, we'll talk about it. Yeah. So up to that point, class is dismissed.